Burns are the most common household injuries, especially among children. It is the leading cause of morbidities, and a lot of people are left with disability and disfigurement. Burns, however, are a preventable occurrence, and there are lots of measures that can be put in place in order to prevent it at home. Join me and my guests as we dive into burns, its complications, and how best it can be prevented. Welcome to HealthLink TV show. This show is proudly sponsored by Milo, MNC Global, Nido, and Prince Syrup. My beautiful outfit is by Abby Scrap and Apparel. For wholesale and retail purchase, kindly contact 0242 176 958. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. If you skip breakfast, your body will run out of glycogen in the middle of the morning, which means reduce energy fast. When this happens, your body is like a car that runs out of gas. So this is the reason why you need to breakfast your day every day. Milo gives you the nourishment of malt, milk and cocoa, and the delicious taste of Milo to help you breakfast your day. Milo contains micronutrients that helps with energy release, normal muscle function, and maintenance of normal bones during child's physical activities. Breakfast your day with Milo to help your child the right start for the day. With Milo, every child can be an MVP. With Milo, every child is a champion. Milo, the energy food drink of future champion. Let's go for a breather. When we come back, I will introduce my guest for today. Welcome back. Now, my guest for today is a Principal Nursing Officer, the Vice President of Burns Awareness Club, and specialist in burns and plastic surgery nursing care. She's here to provide us with all the knowledge we need to know on burns. Sandra Ofori-Atta is my guest for today. Nurse Sandra, you're welcome.
Thank you, Stella, for having me.
Great. So today I want us to talk about burns, and I've seen burns as a result of hot water. I've seen people who experience electrical burns, and I've seen people who experience gas explosion burns. What does it mean to get burns?
Burns is a damage to the skin and the deeper tissue of the body by extreme temperatures, cold, heat, electricity, and chemicals.
Okay, how can cold cause burns?
People who work in the cold rooms often use their bare hands and foot. And as the temperature reduces so much, it ceases circulation to the tips of the fingers. And when it so happens, the tips of the fingers died off. And then you will see this black, dark ends of the fingertips. And that is a type of burns.
So meaning it can't return to normal again?
No.
All right. So are all burns wounds the same, or there are types of burns wounds?
We have types of burns wounds. We have different classifications. Now, we have about 5 of them. In the simple terms, we have about 3 layers of the skin. The epidermis, the dermis, and the subcutaneous.
Exactly.
So if we say a superficial burns, which is a first-degree burns, it means the burn or whatever was causing the burns affected only the epidermis. That is the very first layer of the skin. And then we have a second degree. With the second degree, we have it in 2 types. We have the superficial partial thickness, which means that the injury affected the epidermis and part of the dermis.
So meaning it affected the first layer and the second layer?
And part of the second layer.
Part of the second layer.
Yes. So the second part of the second degree is the deep partial thickness. That one, it affects the epidermis and the whole of the dermis.
Meaning the first layer and the whole of the second layer.
Now the third classification is the third degree burns or full thickness burns. That means it affected the first layer, the second layer, and the third layer. Now, for the first one, which is the superficial burns, it's very painful because the nerve endings will be present.
That one rather. I thought the deeper,
No.
Oh, okay.
It's rather the opposite.
Oh, okay.
So the first classification, which is the superficial, is very painful. The second classification is as well painful. But the difference between the first classification and the second classification is that the first classification is dry. You don't have blister formation. But the second classification has blister formations.
Okay.
Yet it's very painful.
Okay.
But the third classification might or may not be painful. Okay. It may or may not be painful.
Why does that happen?
Depending on the level of the burns or the depth of the injury.
Okay.
So the third classification may not be painful.
Okay.
Now the fourth degree, which is the fifth classification, is also not painful. That one, unless you put pressure at the injury site before the patient might feel some pain.
So that one, does it get to the bone?
Yes.
Okay.
The fourth degree, which is the fifth classification,
Okay.
gets to the fascia, muscles, and the bone.
Okay.
And sometimes when it's electrical burns, the organs in our body get affected.
Okay.
So the last one, there is no pain. So that is the classification. Apart from classifying it according to the depth, we also look at it in percentage-wise. The surface area, the total surface area of the skin that has been affected. So if the face is bent, we estimate how many percent is affected. If it's the whole body, so the whole body from the head to toe is 100%.
Okay.
And we have charts that help us to estimate the percentage of burns. So we classify them according to the depth and then the surface area involved.
Okay. So I want to know the impacts of the various type of burns.
Okay. Each of the causes of the burns can be fatal, depending on the percentage and the depth of the injury.
Okay.
Now, for children, we will always admit when it's more than 10%, and then for adults, 25% and above. Apart from that, burns that affect vital areas like the hand, the face, the perineum, we'll have to admit because the structures there will need extra care.
Delicate.
Yes.
Okay.
And then if there's a loss of a part, we'll have to reconstruct later on. If it's the eye, we need to call in the ophthalmologist to see. So depending on the area, the depth and the percentage of the injury, we'll have to admit. And that will also tell the fatality of the injury.
Okay.
For instance, hot liquid burns. Sometimes you get it and it's superficial. About 1 or 2 dressings, wound will start healing and you can be discharged home. But for electrical burns, even if we don't see any injury on the skin surface, we'll still have to admit.
Why?
Because the electrical waves passes through your body and it distorts the function of the internal organs. For instance, the heart uses electrical waves. So if you are not fortunate and the wave that passes through you at the opposite of your heart, you may have cardiac arrest. So once there is electrical burns, no matter what, we are going to put you on admission. Now, another thing with the naked flame, fire. For instance, there's a gas explosion or a building is on fire and a victim is inside in an enclosed area. It was believed that that patient might have inhaled hot gas, the smoke, carbon monoxide. And we know that the carbon monoxide have greater affinity binding with the red blood cells.
Please break it down for us.
Okay, so the smoke which the patient inhales, we believe it's hot, so it affects the throat. Aside that, the smoke have a greater strength to burn with your red blood cells instead of oxygen. So when the carbon monoxide, when the smoke goes into the patient's system, it rather displaces the oxygen that the blood is using. So the blood will be circulating through your system, this time not with oxygen, but the smoke. When it happens like that, we call it an inhalation injury. And it is very fatal. Anybody who experiences that needs hospital admission immediately. So A patient might be in an enclosed room. He might not be affected physically by the fire. You won't see percentage or, death, physical injury. But once there was smoke and it's believed that the patient has inhaled the smoke, that patient needs hospital admission.
So, Madam Sandra, between children and adults, which of them survives burns?
I would say children.
Okay.
Because they are in their developmental stage and they are still growing. So healing is fast if there is no condition in the background. But with adults, their skin are already grown and most of them have premorbid conditions like diabetes, hypertension, liver conditions, which inhibits healing and it makes recovery very slow. And so long as the wounds are still existing, it has a tag on your survival.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I want us to talk about the immediate actions to be taken when you experience burns. But then, viewers, let's go for a quick break. When you come back, we'll continue our discussion on burns. Welcome back. Before we went on break, we were talking about burns, the causes and the types of burns. Now, I want us to talk about the immediate actions to be taken when you experience burns. Nesandra, as human as we are, we will definitely experience burns. And I want to find out some of the first aid or immediate actions to be taken once we experience burns.
Thank you. Now, once you experience burns, it being hot liquids, flame, all what you need to do is to run tepid water on the affected area. So for 20 minutes, the affected area should be under water to cool the area down. That one will prevent the effect of the heat from going deeper into other tissues. So for liquids, hot liquids, for flames, the immediate action to take is to run cold water over it. Now, if the person himself is on fire, maybe your clothes has catch fire, you don't run with the fire. Once you start running, it's as if you are fanning the fire, you burn the more. Okay. So you stop, drop, and you roll.
Okay.
That's when you stop oxygen from fanning the fire for it to aggravate. Okay. So once your clothes or your body is on fire, it being petrol, anything, you just stop, you drop, and you roll.
Okay.
That is it. And then for electrical burns, if you go into a home, any area, and somebody is in contact with electricity and the person is being burnt, you have to protect yourself first, all the time. Don't rush in saving the person. Okay. You first have to see that you are well protected. And then you find something, an insulator, something, a wood, a plastic, to pull the person away from the danger before you can walk towards the person and save him. Okay. You don't have to do that with your bare hands or you yourself will be injured. With chemicals, I've said that you put the person under running water, not cold water, normal tepid water. That is the one that flows in our taps. Okay. You run it over the person for up to 60 minutes for chemical burns. Aside that, after you finish, you wrap the patient and send the patient to the hospital, any facility. They will look at it first before they refer to the specialist. Okay. You don't put other things like Gentle Violet, cow dung, sea sand, salt, oil, wow, eggs on the wound. Okay. No.
What is your last word for our viewers?
Most of our burns injuries that we receive at our hospital settings are domestic. They come from our homes. Okay. So we need our parents, our mothers, to protect our kids. If you see electricity wires hanging bare, you have to call the electrician to fix it. Don't leave it hanging. A child will go and try to see what it is. Pulling it, the child will get hurt. Hot waters that we leave there, we should protect all of them and we should protect our children from getting hurt. If you're an adult and you smoke, make sure you don't smoke in bed.
Yeah.
Smoke elsewhere where you know you will be able to kill the fire before you go to bed.
All right. Nesandra, thank you so much for your time.
Welcome, Stella.
Great. If you want to support the Burns Awareness Club, kindly contact 0544 678664. Let's go for a quick break. When you come back, a fire service personnel will join us as he educates us on fire safety. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This show is proudly sponsored by Milo, MNC Global, Nido, and Prince Syrup. There's no love like the mother's love. No one can protect them like you do. And now more than ever, it is important to protect our kids from anything that will make them sick. That is why Nido is fortified with iron and vitamin C and D to help support their immune. So choose good nutrition. Choose Nido. Nido, your love, their future. I have with me Divisional Officer Grade 1, Mr. Evans Oseirusu. He is the Greater Accra Regional Fire Service Safety Officer. He is here to take us through how we can prevent and escape fire outbreak. Mr. Oseirusu, you are welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so how can we prevent fire outbreak in our various homes?
There are a lot of ways that we can prevent fires.
Okay.
Currently, when you go out there to our various homes, our workplaces, we are experiencing a lot of power cuts and fluctuations.
Yeah.
And it's one of the major causes of fires, both at home and at our offices.
Okay.
And to prevent the fire outbreaks, the first thing I will hit on is we should all look at our earth wires at home. If you are in an industry or a very big office in a tall building, you also look at your lightning arrestor.
Okay.
The lightning arrestor, the junior brothers we call it, is the earth wire at home.
Okay.
And so if your earth wire is faulty, then please find a qualified electrician to put it back in shape. The reason is that these earth wires take excess current in our system into the earth crust and dissipate it.
Please come again. In which system?
In our system, the electrical systems at home.
Okay, okay.
The electrical systems at home, domestically. And so if there is a fault with the earth wire, the excess power which is supposed to go away comes back into the system and stays in the system. And if you want to check it, you are not a specialist, but you still want to check it. One of the means of checking is that when it drizzles or it rains and it touches your building, you find out that you have some shocks.
Okay. But I haven't tried that before.
You haven't tried that one?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And some of your equipment, also, when you touch them, they will give you shocks.
Yeah.
Then it's telling you that there is trouble with your system. The other one I will also talk about is the way we overload a particular circuit in our home. You have a source where we usually plug our extension boards. But the question is, what goes on the extension board? All the sources that we plug the extension boards are supposed to take only 13 amps at home.
Okay.
Even though we have the 15 amps. The 15 amps have those round heads.
So let's make it a bit practical. If 15 amps, can you use kettle or blender on an extension board?
Good. If you have an extension board which is taking 13 amps and you put your kettle there,
Microwave.
you put your microwave there, you put your hairdryer there, you are inviting fire service to your house. They will be on their way to your house.
Okay. Wow.
The hairdryer, the kettle, the microwave, they take a lot of current.
Yeah.
And as I tell people, They are just a one-way appliance,
Okay.
one-way electrical appliance.
So does it mean you don't need to use any extension
Don't
cord?
use it with any, let me use body. Don't use it with anybody. It should stay alone. It shouldn't be used with any appliance.
Okay.
Let it stay alone. But it will marvel you to know that you go to people's homes and they have their fridges on extension boards. And on the same extension boards, when they want to iron, they go there and plug the iron and do their irons, and they sing praises to God.
Okay.
Which is very bad. Please, it is not advisable.
I've seen 3 fire extinguishers. I personally don't know how to use it, and I think a lot of people don't know how to use it. Please kindly educate us on how we can use this fire extinguisher.
Thank you very much. These extinguishers are first aid firefighting appliances. We are supposed to have these first aid equipments at home. I know when I go right now with you to your house, I'll get paracetamol syrup.
Exactly, I have it.
I'll get a paracetamol syrup. The reason is that if anybody have a headache, at least I'll get something like spirit. When someone gets a bruise or something, use the spirit. And currently when I go home with you, I'll get a hand sanitizer.
Yes.
Good. But when we go home, there won't be a fire extinguisher.
I fall a
is
victim.
With about 80% of the Ghanaian populace.
That's true.
The truth is, these first aid appliances, after you have the paracetamol and the things that I've mentioned, are supposed to be at home with us. So that in the event of any fire outbreak, we can tackle it to prevent spread.
Do you need all the 3, or we can get one of them?
You can get one of them.
Okay.
But if you can afford it, you have to get 2. There are varieties.
Okay, so meaning each of them has its own function, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
What it does is that this small one is for cars.
Okay.
For saloon cars.
Only
And
saloon.
Only saloon cars. And the content in it is a dry chemical powder.
Okay.
And the one over there at the other end also contains the same chemical.
Okay.
So the 2 of them contains dry chemical powder. And that other one over there is for domestic and offices.
Okay.
This slim one, we have in it the carbon dioxide.
Okay.
The 1 year carbon dioxide, it's very effective in the kitchen. In that, when you use the chemical on your food, let's assume you are cooking, there is boil over, and your food starts burning. I love red fish. Let's assume it's a very big red fish. You use the content on it, and the fire burns to the fish is not huge or great. You can still enjoy your fish.
Oh, okay. So doesn't mean it's not poisonous.
So it's not poisonous when it comes to that. And we say it's a first aid because it is used at the inception of the fire. Immediately you see the fire.
Okay. Okay. What about the gas explosion? Which one can you use?
Thank you very much. Gas explosion is a very different thing altogether. When there is a gas explosion, you cannot go there with these things.
Okay, so what do you advise?
So the gas explosion will be dealt by the fire service.
Okay.
And so you will not wait for the gas to explode. You will not wait for the gas to explode because you have to take certain measures at home.
Okay.
1, put your gas cylinder behind your kitchen. 2, when your cylinder is leaking, don't put stones on them.
Okay.
When your cylinder is leaking, Don't pound fufu and use some of the dough around where it is.
Really?
When your cylinder is leaking, it's good.
Well, I didn't know about
You
that.
didn't know about that. Yes. And so you don't do these things. You only take it to your vendor
Okay.
for him to change the head, and then you have a new cylinder and you are free.
Mr. Osewusu, this has
Yes.
been an interesting discussion with you. So do you think the fire service department is doing their best in terms of curbing fire outbreak?
We are doing a very good thing.
Oh, okay.
But I'm saying that Ghanaians are not listening. And let me give you a typical example. You go to a church and you want to educate them on fire safety, and you are given 10 minutes.
Interesting.
You go to the lorry park and you want to educate drivers, and it's only the bookmen who will come.
Those who don't use the vehicle.
Thank you very much. If only Ghanaians will listen, I think the fire outbreaks will reduce to the barest minimum, and we will all be free.
So I know a lot of people don't know the fire service short code. I want you to tell us an active short code.
Active short code
Yeah.
192.
Okay.
And currently we have the 112.
Okay. Thank you so much once again.
You're welcome.
All right. So I hope you'll join us again.
I will surely come because I have a lot.
Viewers, this has been an interesting discussion with Mr. Osewusu. Join me same time next week for another interesting episode on HealthLink TV show. HealthLink, everything on health.
There is no love like a mother's love. No one can protect them like you do. And now more than ever, it is important to protect our kids from anything that could make them sick. That is why Nido is fortified with iron and vitamin C and D to help support your immune. So choose good nutrition. Choose Nido. Nido, your love, their future. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. If you skip breakfast, your body will run out of glycogen by the middle of the morning, which means reduced energy burst. When this happens, your body is like a car that runs out of gas. So that is the reason you need to breakfast your day every day. Milo gives you the nourishment of malts, milk and cocoa, and the delicious taste of Milo to help you breakfast your day. Milo contains micronutrients that helps with energy release, normal muscle function, and maintenance of normal bones during a child's physical activities. Breakfast your day with Milo to help give your child the right start for the day. With Milo, every child can be an MVP. With Milo, every child is a champion. Milo, the energy food drink of future champions.